Even like I will say things now and I will be open and honest, but I also am also attacked because I am protecting
It started with a quiet little ding, just Mary going live again on TikTok, something she's been doing more often lately. But this time, viewers noticed her energy was different.
them, or I'm, you know what I mean? Or I'm like, here's the thing.
She wasn't vague or cryptic, she was focused, calm, and then she dropped it. A screenshot, blurred just enough to tease, time-stamped from a year ago. The sender, Robyn, and the message, a promise, plain as day, I want us to do this kindly. We can keep the love, even if it's different.
I don't personally think that just because I get a divorce means I hate a person.
Mary held up the image like a receipt in a courtroom, claiming it was one of many text messages she received when her divorce from Kody first began. The mood turned instantly electric. Within minutes, her comments exploded. Fans demanding to see the rest, others already calling it the kind divorce lie exposed.
Or I need to go tell all the tea, or I need to say what really happened. I don't believe that. There's still some things that deserve to be kept quiet.
Mary didn't flinch. She read aloud from memory, "We'll be sisters no matter what. I want peace. No sides." But her voice caught slightly when she added, "That didn't happen. Not even close." She went on to describe how the tone changed almost overnight. One week, Robyn was saying she hoped they'd stay close, keep the family bonded for the kids. The next, it was icy silence.
Space and let them figure their stuff out. And then we'll see if we can come together.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, I'm looking back at some of the stuff and I'm like, yeah, no wonder everybody wanted to shake me.
Mary said she tried again and again to communicate, even offered to talk through things off camera. But Robyn stopped responding. No calls, no replies, nothing. And while Mary never used the word betrayal, the implication was heavy in the air. "You think you're walking into a sunset together," she said, "but then you realize you've been walking alone for a while." The real kicker? Mary hinted that she's sitting on another screenshot, one she hasn't posted. "Yet, if I showed the second one," she said with a slow smile, "this would go in a very different direction." Fans went wild trying to guess what the second message might say. Some suspect it's evidence that Robyn was feeding information back to Kody the whole time. Others think it proves she never planned to stay connected at all. And then Mary added, "I'm not doing this to start drama. I'm doing this because I was promised kindness, and I have the proof." But that was just the beginning, because what Mary said next made it clear this wasn't just about texts, it was about money, serious money, and possibly a trail that leads straight into Robyn's private household.
But also, I had to get to that place myself.
Yes. Yes.
I was not oblivious to what was going on.
What came next turned us from a vague emotional betrayal into something far more tangible. Because while most fans were still combing through every pixel of that now infamous text screenshot, a handful of sharp-eyed followers started connecting dots Mary hadn't spelled out yet. It started with a quietly dropped detail during a live stream a few days prior, one that barely registered in the moment. Mary had mentioned noticing a big shift right after some transfers started happening. Transfers? At the time, it seemed like a throwaway line, maybe even metaphorical. But now, with the texts hitting social media like a truth grenade, the meaning suddenly snapped into focus.
And I think that's I know that that's a huge thing with a lot of people. It's like, can't you see what's going on? You're so stupid. It's like, no, I can see what's going on.
Insiders close to the Brown family are now whispering that what Mary may be alluding to is a series of PayPal and Venmo transfers, allegedly traced back to shared accounts that were once part of the family's tangled financial setup. One particularly buzzy claim that a six-figure sum was quietly rerouted toward expenses linked to Robyn's household after her promise of a kind divorce to Mary. As in, we're sisters no matter what, while allegedly padding her own nest in secret.
I also have my morals and my values, which says, you know what? You made a commitment. You figure it out. You don't just walk away when things get hard.
According to a source who says they've seen the digital paper trail, it wasn't just one payment. It was patterned, the insider claimed. And it started right after Mary asked for transparency. That same source says Mary initially tried to keep it private, giving Robyn the benefit of the doubt, just like she did with Kody for years. She allegedly brought it up directly, asked simple questions, and was met with defensiveness. The numbers didn't add up, Mary reportedly told one confidant. And when I asked about it, I got frozen out.
Not going to go into that wanting to talk trash about Kody.
Since then, Mary has been quietly gathering receipts, not just text messages, but digital records, emails, timestamps, and messages she claims were forwarded to the wrong people. In one particularly tense TikTok moment, Mary leaned in toward the camera and said, If you knew what I know, if you saw what I've seen, you'd understand why this can't just be swept under the rug anymore. That sent fans into a frenzy. Was she about to drop screenshots of those alleged transfers? Had she already filed something legally? Or was this all a prelude to some kind of tell-all memoir? Long rumored, but never confirmed.
Or wanting to compare about Kody. Like I will use my experiences and what I learned from it.
The speculation only grew after she liked a comment that read, "Funny how the money and the silence started at the same time. Some say that was her subtle way of confirming it. Others believe she's trying to send a message to Robyn without being explicit. Yet, Mary's always played it carefully. But lately, there's a different kind of steel in her tone. She's no longer tiptoeing around family dynamics. She's narrating them. And just when you think it couldn't get messier, Mary ended one of her live streams with a single loaded sentence. That's not even the biggest betrayal. No elaboration. Just a quick smile, a glance at the comments, and a casual, "More on that soon."
And be like, okay, I recognize this is how I was treated, or this is how things happen, but not, well, he used to do it this way, or you know what I mean?
Now fans are convinced this is just the first drop in a much larger storm. And if Mary's telling the truth, then Robyn's kindness might have come with a $sign attached. It's one thing to feel betrayed. It's another to have someone else watch it unfold and back you up. That's exactly what's happening now, because a longtime friend of Mary's is speaking out, and according to her, the backstory to those so-called kind divorce texts is more painful than we realized. She claims Mary had been practically begging for civility, not just for herself, but for the kids, for the legacy, for what was once a family. She wanted to walk away from Kody with dignity. She allegedly told Robyn, woman to woman, "Let's not burn this down. We can be the example."
Like, what did I learn from it and how can I move forward, not let's talk trash.
But behind the scenes, Robyn was allegedly rushing to finalize legal steps, coordinating with Kody behind Mary's back, and framing the whole thing as Mary being too emotional to participate in her own closure. The friend didn't mince words. It was 2 against 1, and Mary thought she still had an ally in Robyn. That illusion shattered fast. She went on to describe something that fans have suspected for years, but never heard confirmed from someone this close, what Mary called emotional ambushes. Moments where she'd walk into a meeting thinking they were going to talk things through calmly, only to find out Kody and Robyn had already made decisions without her input. They would smile and act polite, the friend explained, but the outcomes were already decided.
So I have had to say, you know what? I'm not interested in talking or just getting all the scoop or whatever. And I've had to shut down conversations when there's a lot of questions being asked.
Mary was just there to witness her own exile. And here's the part that really stung. Robyn allegedly used Mary's past loyalty as a weapon. She would reference old conversations, old promises, and guilt her into silence. "You don't want to look like the bitter one," Robyn would supposedly say. "You're better than that. You always said you believed in family." It worked at first, but according to this friend, Mary hit a breaking point when she discovered Robyn was telling other people a very different version of events. It wasn't just the lies, the friend said. It was the betrayal of trust, the duplicity. Mary hasn't confirmed those exact words publicly, but she's been hinting at them heavily during lives. She talks more now about the psychological weight of staying silent, about being gaslit by people you once trusted, and most importantly, about how silence doesn't equal ignorance.
What about life with Robyn now? Is there a life with Robyn now, or not so much?
No, not that much. No.
"Just because I didn't speak up at the time," she said in one video, "doesn't mean I didn't see it." That quote has been shared thousands of times in fan forums, especially by women who say they recognize that dynamic all too well. And Mary's not done. During another recent live, she smiled tightly and said, "I've been kind. I've been patient. But kindness isn't the same as weakness." Then she nodded to a folder on her desk. Viewers swear it was labeled 2021, 2023, and added, "I kept everything." If what's in that folder backs up what her friend claims, then Robyn's gentle, misunderstood image may be about to take a very public hit. And the next twist? Well, rumor has it Kody was forwarding Mary's private messages to Robyn all along, and Mary might be ready to prove it. The idea that Kody could have been forwarding Mary's private texts to Robyn, that sent the internet spiraling. And what's wild is, Mary all but confirmed it. During a quiet blink and you'll miss it moment on one of her lives, someone asked in the comments, "Did you ever find out how your words got twisted?" Mary paused. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she looked straight into the camera and said, "Let's just say, things I only said to one person found their way to someone else's hands. And no, I didn't share them twice." That was enough. Viewers started piecing it together instantly.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit in the tell-all about how, there's just a little bit of distance. And I had said to her, I don't know how to be friends with my ex-husband's wife.
Sources close to the family say Mary's suspicions began when Robyn started repeating phrases back to her, lines that Mary had only ever sent in private texts to Kody, not out of bitterness or spite, but in vulnerable moments. Messages like, "I'm trying, but I feel erased," or "Why does everything have to be through her?" She never brought them to group discussions. She never copied Robyn. But somehow, Robyn always knew exactly what Mary had said, and even worse, she allegedly weaponized that knowledge in future conversations. One insider claimed Mary became paranoid but not wrong, checking her own sent messages and realizing the time gaps lined up.
It's deeper than that, I really, really wanted to be in a place, and I'm not saying that we are not, or that we're not moving toward it, or we can't, or whatever.
And now comes the most explosive part. According to someone within Mary's inner circle, she didn't just suspect it. She has metadata, meaning digital records showing when her texts were opened, copied, or forwarded. Allegedly, she even has screenshots from her provider's backup logs, showing multiple IPs pinging her message archives. If this goes to court, one source said, she's holding dynamite, actual receipts that show who knew what, when, and how it moved behind her back. It all adds up to a pattern. Mary shares her truth. Kody forwards it, Robyn confronts her as if she heard it organically, and then uses Mary's honesty as proof she's still unstable or too emotional to co-parent.
But I had multiple conversations with Kody just saying, you know what, we can do this in a kind way. We can have a kind divorce.
It's a cycle, Mary says she didn't notice at first because she wanted so badly to believe the people she loved were still good, still reachable. But according to fans dissecting her every livestream, something hardened in Mary this year. She no longer tries to rationalize. She no longer blames stress or confusion. Her words now? Calculated, chosen, clear. "I was told we were sisters for life," she said recently, "but I wasn't treated like one. I was treated like a threat. And I'm done pretending I don't know why." That line alone has gone viral across Facebook groups and TikTok edits. But the part that truly stopped hearts cold came seconds later when she added, they wanted silence. But what they're going to get is documentation.
And it's kind of sometimes and sometimes not kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And just when it seemed like that was the full scope of betrayal, Mary turned the story back to the part that still breaks her, being cut off from the only people she didn't divorce, Robyn's kids. Because as painful as it is to lose a spouse, it's nothing compared to losing children who once called you Aunt Mary and never even got to say goodbye. Out of everything Mary's endured, years of emotional stonewalling, public humiliation, and back-channel betrayals, nothing compares to what she calls the silent goodbye. It wasn't a divorce, or even a falling out. It was an absence, a deliberate, aching distance that opened up like a canyon between her and the kids she once helped raise. Especially Solomon. That boy wasn't just a kid in the family, he was her little shadow, her buddy. They had inside jokes, bedtime routines, silly games. She once said, "When I needed a reason to smile, Saul would walk into the room and that was it." And then, nothing. No more visits. No goodbyes, not even a phone call. Just silence. Viewers noticed the shift first, back when Robyn's household scenes slowly started excluding Mary. No more birthday parties, no more family dinners. Mary brushed it off for a while, saying she was giving space. But when she finally spoke openly about it, the pain was unmistakable. She said she hadn't seen Solomon or Ariella in months. Not by choice, but because those doors just stopped opening. And that's when she dropped another emotional bombshell. She still has the voicemails. In a moment that sent her TikTok comment section into full-blown meltdown, Mary mentioned she had saved old voice messages from Robyn, little recordings where Robyn reassured her that their relationship was forever. One clip, Mary claimed, had Robyn saying, "You'll always be Aunt Mary, your family. That doesn't change just because papers are signed." Mary never played the recording live, but the way she spoke about it, you could tell those words meant something, and the silence that followed them meant even more. Now, insiders say those voicemails are just the tip of the iceberg. Mary's alleged to have years of texts, birthday videos, even old letters the kids made her. She's kept it all, not to weaponize, but because she couldn't let go. And now, with Robyn reportedly cutting off contact entirely, that archive feels less like a memory box and more like a case file. I wasn't the one who walked away from them, she said tearfully during one live. I still don't understand why they were told to walk away from me. That line hit hard. Because if there's one thing the Sister Wives audience knows by now, it's that Robyn has always controlled the gates to her household. And when someone gets cut off, it's never a slow drift. It's an instant freeze. Fans are now speculating that the decision to distance Meri from the kids wasn't mutual at all, but something orchestrated. She kept her loyalty for years. One commenter wrote, "And this is how they thank her?" Others wonder if Meri's relationship with the children became too complicated after she started asking questions, especially about finances. Whatever the reason, Meri's grief is raw and unresolved, and she's made it clear she's not over it. "There's still birthdays I remember," she said. "Still little habits I expect to see when I walk in a room, but the room's empty now." And yet, according to industry whispers, one of those voicemails could be the final nail in Robyn's image, especially if TLC decides to air the confrontation call Meri says was caught off camera. According to multiple insiders close to the production, there's one moment that's been sitting on the cutting room floor, a moment that could unravel everything. A private call between Meri and Robyn, allegedly captured during off hours, while TLC cameras were still rolling. And the buzz. It wasn't some casual sisterly chat, it was a confrontation, one that reportedly left Meri in tears and Robyn uncharacteristically silent. Now, producers are said to be debating whether to include it in the upcoming season, and if they do, it could mark the first time audiences see Robyn without the polished shield she's worn for over a decade. Here's what we know. The call happened shortly after Meri's quiet exit from the family home became official. She was still trying to hold the line to believe that at least the relationships with the other women could be preserved, especially Robyn. She wanted closure, not carnage. But during that call, Meri allegedly asked a pointed question. "Do you remember what you promised me?" The room fell quiet. Then, according to a source with knowledge of the footage, Robyn said something that producers immediately flagged as not usable without redaction. What that line was, no one knows for sure. But Meri has hinted in recent live streams that what hurt most wasn't the broken promise. It was realizing the promise may never have been sincere in the first place. "Some people give you words like gifts," she said, "and later you find out they were just wrapping paper. There was nothing inside." That quote alone has been shared in countless fan forums, with many speculating that Robyn's kind divorce language was less about compassion and more about optics, an attempt to keep things looking calm on the outside while consolidating power behind the scenes. The most shocking rumor? That Robyn, during that very call, allegedly admitted she'd misspoken when she said the family would stay united post-divorce. According to the same source, producers gasped in real time. It wasn't what she said, the source claims. It was how quickly she tried to take it back, like she realized the cameras were listening too late. Meri, they say, stayed quiet for a beat, then said, "I just wanted the truth. That's all I ever wanted." If that moment airs, it could crack the fragile narrative that's protected Robyn's reputation for years, and Meri seems to know it. In one of her most recent videos, she told viewers, "You might think the show tells the story, but there's always a second reel, the one they don't show. And if they decide to show it now, buckle up." That felt less like a threat and more like a warning, because according to whispers from the production team, this season is different. The gloves are coming off. And if Robyn's redacted line ever makes it to air, fans may finally hear the version of her that Meri's been seeing for years. And as for Meri, she's already told friends she's got backups, voicemails, texts, and something she cryptically called the original plan. What exactly was the original plan? That's the bomb she hasn't dropped yet. The phrase "the original plan" has become something of a code word in fan circles lately. Meri's dropped it more than once, always with the same careful tone, measured, heavy with implication, like she's daring someone to ask what it means. And while she hasn't spelled it out publicly, insiders close to her suggest it refers to a private understanding between her, Robyn, and possibly even Kody. A mutual agreement about how the divorce would unfold, what would be said, and most crucially, what would be left unsaid. According to one longtime family confidant, Meri believed they'd all agreed to present a united front, to keep things respectful and spare the kids any added trauma. She wanted quiet dignity, the source says. She didn't want a media war, but now she feels like she was the only one playing by those rules. And now, Meri's allegedly building a digital folder full of receipts, not just a few sad texts or weepy voicemails, an actual timeline, curated and time-stamped. According to this source, she's got screen recordings, cloud-stored backups, old group messages, and voice notes, some of which were originally sent as birthday videos or holiday updates, now repurposed as evidence. It's not revenge, the insider insists. It's defense. She kept the receipts because she knew one day they'd claim they never said what they said, but the real twist? Mary might not even be the one to leak it. Industry whispers say at least 2 former crew members from the early seasons have been approached with offers to speak on record. Why? Because they allegedly witnessed firsthand how differently Robyn behaved behind the scenes compared to her soft-spoken TV persona. One crew member reportedly told a blogger, "She played the long game. Robyn always had an exit strategy, and Mary was a means to an end." That claim hasn't been independently confirmed, but it's spreading like wildfire in fan forums. Meanwhile, Mary's TikTok and Instagram activity has become appointment viewing. In one now viral video, she said, "People are always so surprised when the quiet one finally speaks. But you should ask why they stayed quiet so long. Who is making it unsafe to talk?" That line, gentle as it sounded, sent a shockwave through the fandom, and her follow-up might be the most pointed thing she's said yet. It's not silence if you're archiving. The temperature is rising fast. Robyn is allegedly scrambling behind the scenes, reaching out to former mutual friends and trying to secure neutral statements in case things go public. But Mary's camp isn't backing down. According to sources, they've already sorted and labeled the receipts. Some of them date back over a decade, and among them, voicemails where Robyn allegedly contradicts herself, telling Mary in one message that she wants to keep the family sacred, and in another, that some endings are necessary for the greater good. If Mary chooses to release those in sequence, it could destroy what little goodwill Robyn still holds with fans. And based on how careful Mary's been lately with her phrasing, her timestamps, and her tone, it feels like she's not bluffing. She's waiting. And all it will take is one wrong move from Robyn to send everything live. The phrase that's been circling Mary's comment section lately isn't about sisterhood or closure, it's follow the paper trail. And she knows it, because during a late night live, right as she was signing off, Mary smirked ever so slightly and said, "It's all in the files. You just have to follow the paper trail." That line alone sent fans racing back to old scenes, old interviews, old timelines, trying to match up every mysterious purchase, every whispered expense, every odd detail Robyn never quite explained. And now, the whispers have gone from theory to alleged sightings. According to sources in Flagstaff, Robyn's longtime personal assistant was recently spotted moving multiple bankers' boxes from her home, not to storage on the family's property, but to a private climate-controlled unit across town. That move has triggered fresh speculation that she's hiding documents, receipts, contracts, even ledgers related to how family money was spent after the other wives left. One anonymous crew member claimed they saw Mary visibly shocked when she learned about interior upgrades at Robyn's home. "We're not talking about a coat of paint," the source said. "We're talking custom cabinetry, imported fixtures, luxury rugs, tens of thousands, allegedly well over $240,000 in decor alone. What's worse, that total reportedly doesn't even include the infamous doll room." Yes, that room, long rumored, never shown. A lavishly decorated shrine to antique dolls, tucked away in a separate wing of Robyn's house that TLC has so far never filmed. Several insiders say the family agreed years ago to keep that part of the home off camera because it was too personal. But now, Mary's been hinting that the reason they kept it hidden had nothing to do with privacy, and everything to do with where the money came from. In one particularly telling moment, Mary told a follower, "It's wild what people will call personal property when they didn't pay for it themselves." She didn't name names. She didn't have to. Everyone watching knew what she meant. Comments flooded in, with fans asking if communal family funds, meant for shared needs like kids' schooling or retirement savings, were quietly rerouted into Robyn's luxury lifestyle. One even asked, "Are we about to find out Robyn spent the sister wives' college fund on porcelain dolls?" Mary didn't answer directly. She just pinned a comment. If that seems petty, it's not, because according to financial experts consulted by fan blogs, if Mary can prove that money was moved under false pretenses or without her consent, especially during the legal unraveling of the family's shared assets, it could trigger real consequences, and Mary seems to know that. In fact, she's already hinted that she's been in contact with someone who knows numbers. Whether that means a lawyer, an accountant, or an investigator, she won't say. But one thing is clear, the deeper you dig into these receipts, the more it starts to look like this was never about just an emotional betrayal. Because if the money trail really does lead to that doll room, then this kind of divorce may have been funding one person's fantasy while everyone else got left behind. Up until now, Mary has framed everything with restraint. Even when the stories veered into money, betrayal, or emotional manipulation, she held the line, choosing words carefully, hinting rather than accusing, always couching things in grace and reflection. But that's changing, because now, legal experts watching the drama unfold are pointing to something most fans hadn't even considered: breach of promise. Yes, it's real. And under certain circumstances, if someone can prove that they were misled by verbal or written commitments, especially ones that influenced financial or emotional decisions, they may have legal standing. And if Mary's infamous text screenshots and voicemail archives show a pattern of reassurance, followed by strategic withdrawal, that might be grounds for something far more serious than fan speculation. Insiders say Mary's been quietly exploring her options. Not because she's eager to sue, but because she's finally ready to stop being walked over. One close source put it bluntly: she's not chasing revenge, she's chasing truth. But if someone tries to smear her again, she's locked and loaded. And if you've watched her recent TikToks, you've likely caught the shift. The playfulness is still there, but it's underscored by something sharper: purpose, intent. She recently told viewers, "I don't want a court case, but I'm not afraid of one either." And then she held up a thick manila folder, clearly labeled, and simply said, "Push me again and the court filings will hit like dynamite." That one moment sent fans into a frenzy. What's in the folder? Some speculate it's a full legal breakdown, perhaps notarized summaries of conversations, a financial audit of shared family accounts, even digital correspondence with production teams outlining who said what and when. Others believe it contains something even more personal, like a timeline of Robyn's alleged broken promises, tracked alongside spending spikes and sudden family restructures. Either way, Mary didn't flinch. She just smiled that tight, knowing smile and ended the live. It's a far cry from the woman who once sat silently on a reunion couch, while Kody painted her as needy and ungrateful. Today, Mary's voice is steadier, her gaze is level, and her message is clear. If you try to rewrite history, she will bring the original version with footnotes. And she's not alone. Fan accounts dedicated to tracking the sister wives' timeline are rallying around her, compiling receipts, timelines, and commentary clips that bolster her version of events. Even former skeptics are now saying, "We owe Mary an apology." And if all of this really does make its way into a courtroom or onto the next season of the show, it's not going to be quiet. It's going to be explosive, because now it's not just about failed marriages or sibling rivalries, it's about reputation, about truth, about who gets to walk away looking clean while someone else is left carrying the damage. And judging by Mary's tone lately, she's not carrying anything alone anymore. She's armed, archived, and if needed, ready to detonate. It happened late one night, almost like a whisper. Mary went live from what looked like a quiet room lit only by a single lamp. She didn't say much at first, just answered a few comments, talked about her day, joked with her usual dry warmth. But then she reached under the table and lifted something into frame, a thick 3-ring binder. Not the manila folder this time, a full binder. Tucked inside were neatly organized printouts, tabs in bold color, and what fans swore looked like screen captures printed in high-resolution color. She didn't flip through it. She didn't name what was inside. She just looked into the camera, smiled faintly, and said, "When the time's right, I'll share it all, but not yet. I want to make sure people are really ready to hear it." That wasn't a warning, it was a countdown. And here's where it gets poetic. In the final seconds of that video, Mary reached for a framed photo sitting off camera. She turned it around just long enough for people to glimpse the image. It was a picture of her and Solomon. He couldn't have been more than 5 years old. They were sitting in the grass, laughing, his arms around her neck. No filters, no stage lights, just love. The screen went dark seconds later. No sign-off, no outro, just silence. That one visual said everything. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about memory, about meaning, about being erased, then daring to exist anyway. The binder might hold documents, but that photo, that's her truth. And the fact that she ended the video with that says more than any lawsuit ever could. Since then, speculation has reached a boiling point. Is Mary preparing for legal action? Will she leak the rest of the texts and voicemails? Are producers building a final season around this unraveling? No one knows for sure, but what is certain is that something has changed in Mary. She's no longer navigating the wreckage, she's mapping it, marking it, naming every piece. And perhaps the most chilling part of it all? Robyn hasn't responded publicly. Not once. No denial, no deflection, just silence. Whether that's strategy or fear, we don't know. But Mary's recent quote might have said it best. Silence doesn't mean nothing. Sometimes it means you've run out of lies. So now we ask if everything Mary's hinting at is true. If there really is a paper trail, a broken promise, and a manipulation so deep it fractured not just a marriage but a family, then what comes next? Is the sister wives saga headed for court? Or will Mary's quiet strength be the final chapter? And now it's your turn. Do you believe Robyn ever meant what she said about a kind divorce? Or was it always just a script for the cameras? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit like if you're standing with Mary. And don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned, because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.